What do you think from what you've heard? Is this still a big question mark? Are they really going to go? No, look, I'm a Sam Howell fan. I think he deserves a shot if he was coached right and he's had the sit down year. But I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know if they are all in on Sam Howell or not.
I mean, the guy started one game. He was a 5th-round pick. And I know, after the 2020 season, right, heading into 2021, Sam Howell was the guy, according to many people, right? Oh, that guy's going to be the top pick.
That's when they were stocked, the Tar Heels with talent. Yep.
Right. And, he fell out of favor, and ends up being a 5th-round pick, starts one game, and now he's the guy. And this is the guy. I was surprised the team did not make an aggressive move at some point in free agency because I think Ron Rivera is on his last legs. You have new ownership coming in. He just constantly is kind of just like meddling around 500. The team just never looks like it's better than the previous year. They just always are kind of stuck in the same spot. And that will be the case if you don't make an aggressive move at quarterback or you get lucky. And Taylor Heineke was never going to be that guy. Right, fun player to root for, but he was never going to be that guy. Sam Howell, I have the same feeling, right? Fun kid to root for, but I don't think he's going to be that guy. I think his upside is what Baker Mayfield has turned into. That's really what I see Sam Howell as. So, if there's a team that we could see, there was a report that Schefter just came out with today that 6 teams have reached out to Arizona about the number 3 pick. I got to think Washington is one of those teams. And if you look at Ron Rivera, and I don't know how much say he has in the quarterback, he is a defensive coach, right? If you look back to his history in Carolina, what quarterback did he have the most success with? What kind of quarterback? It was Cam Newton. And this is where I could see a team. This is the team that I think if they're going to make an really aggressive move for Anthony Richardson.
I guess it all depends on how much power he still has in the organization.
Right.
And would you draft a guy like Anthony Richardson that can't start week 1, and then Rivera could be fired by the end of the season and you never even saw Richardson?
Right. And it's a fun thing to think about because does this give Rivera an extra year? It's almost like, hey, you got to give me another year without Richardson and another year with. This also sets up Sam Howell to be the guy for a season. Right? And you move forward with Richardson. I mean, if you really are just going to move forward with Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell, you are not going to win 6 games next year. And so I think you're getting fired regardless. I think an aggressive trade-up for a quarterback at least might give you another year window.
Unless this is one of those teams they're thinking about that quarterback room next year.
Right.
Right. We got the Giants, we got the Eagles, we got the Cowboys.
Yep.
Let's just be the team that worries about next year. And a new coach.
Yeah, I mean the problem is the team is good enough to defend their way into 5-6 games. They still have a nasty defensive line. They just locked up Deron Payne to an enormous contract, right? Montez Sweat is probably next. So it's a tough. I actually do think the team is solid. It's a solid roster. I don't think it's great, but they don't have the quarterback, and that's why I was surprised. I thought that's where Lamar was going to end up.
Well, look. If they don't make the trade, though, this could be where Levis goes. This could be where Hooker goes. That's still possible. We're taking a look also. The only other need they have on offense is with this tight end class. It would be surprising if they did not go after a tight end. They don't have to do that, of course, with the first pick, but second pick, tight end. Agree?
Yeah, first pick is an option. They could be the team that takes the first tight end off the board.
Who could that be if they did that?
I mean, where did Eric Bieniemy come from, right? New offensive coordinator comes from Kansas City. What tight end in this group kind of blends that Travis Kelce size, speed, ball skills? And it's Luke Musgrave. This would be a surprise first-round pick, but we see surprises every year.
Yeah.
Dalton Kincaid doesn't have the size. Meyer doesn't have the speed. Washington doesn't have the suddenness, right, and the route running prowess. The one guy that is this kind of a big unknown, but probably has the highest ceiling in the group is Musgrave. And, crazier things have happened in the draft. He might be there in round 2. That might be a move that they make in round 2. But I believe you. I agree with you that this team is going after a tight end at some point in the draft. It's a major need on that team.
By the way, speaking of Bieniemy, don't you think that it's one of those situations where if Ron Rivera moves on, we know who the next head coach is going to be?
You think it's going to be him?
Yes.
Do you think that's why they brought him in?
I would be very surprised, especially if we're talking about if Daniel Snyder's still there.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah,
but how would that help his PR?
Right.
I'm the guy that hired Eric Bieniemy.
Yep.
Get off my back.
I give me some space. Yeah, I mean that the ownership situation is funny. I mean, I haven't been updating myself that much on what's going on there, but if and when they do sell, it's an even more it adds even more complexity to the idea of possibly trading up for your next franchise quarterback, especially from where the Commanders would have to trade up from. Yeah. That price tag would be enormous. So I mean, maybe they kick that can down the road, like you said. But
look, if I'm trading up and I feel like I could trade up to number 3, then I'm trading up to number 2 and I'm getting Bryce Young.
Okay. Not a bad move. Not a bad idea.
If I'm going to go all the way to 3, I'm just going to 2. I'm not stopping at Anthony Richardson. If I can go one more spot, give them a little bit more, and then I'm getting my guy anyway. Because come on, we all know who's a better quarterback. So
yeah, absolutely. That's not even close.
If Houston, like you were saying the other day, if Houston is actually
out on him,
a little bit unsure about Bryce Young.
Right. If Houston might go into this draft saying, "Hey, we want to wait till next year. The next year's crop,"
and Washington could be one of those teams.
And you know what? That trade does make sense because the ammo that Washington would have to use to trade up to 2 would give Houston so many assets that if by some chance they wind up at number 5 overall and they need to make an enormous offer to get to number 1 overall next year, they'll have all those toys that they can use.
On defense, they could use a little bit more edge depth. I don't really think they have much depth at all after Sweat and Young. A middle linebacker. Cody Barton is just a veteran that could just hold the fort, but they need a middle linebacker. And then cornerback is definitely, they could probably use 2 corners, actually, including a nickel.
Yeah. They cut ties, with William Jackson after playing at 16 out of just 34 games with the club. They traded him to Pittsburgh last year during the season. Benjamin St. Juste, Kendall Fuller on the outside, Danny Johnson at nickel. You could do worse there, but there's nothing behind those guys, and that got exposed last season. So this is another team that they don't have a number 1 corner right now. When you don't have one, you need to go get one. Cam Dantzler from Minnesota, that's not going to move the needle.
Yeah, Christian who could be the number 1 corner? Because that could be who? Witherspoon could maybe still be available? Is that more Porter Ringo?
I think it's going to be more Porter Ringo. It sounds like Witherspoon is almost a lock to go top 10. So him and Gonzalez. So yeah, I think you're looking at corners number 3 through 5. Who's your top guy? You'll probably be able to get one of those guys.
All right. And then what if do you think it would be a smart move to also add a little bit more edge depth?
Yeah, edge depth.
Especially if they can't afford Sweat.
That's going to say it's edge depth, but it's also maybe a hedge on him and playing elsewhere in the future. Chase Young, still a believer in him, but you're talking 2 straight years of just not getting what you want to. One of them was injury related, and last year it was kind of an odd recovery process for him. I still think he could be a special player, but if you lose Sweat because you can't afford him, and Young does not pan out to be what you thought he'd be, you now have nothing there.
By the way, you were just talking about assets.
Yeah, there you go.
If they wanted to move up to Houston,
yep.
Montez Sweat or Chase Young, either one.
I mean, I do think if Washington makes the move, it's going to have to be more than picks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
they don't have enough pick. They're too far away.
That's where you're in a good pick and you want a marquee player. We got one for you.
You're absolutely right with that because also trading them doesn't hurt your cap because they're on rookie deals. I'm really leaning towards Sweat more than Young. I don't think trading Young is a good idea right now for a lot of reasons, but Sweat on a rookie deal, your salary cap's not going to get hurt with the penalty of trading him. And he is a credible, top 15 edge rusher in the NFL right now.
And if they added an edge rusher with their first pick, who are we looking for?
If they went first round with that pick, at that point in the draft, you're probably looking at a Nolan Smith, little undersized. You'd have to probably alter the scheme a little bit, but that's Jack Del Rio is definitely one of the minds that could do that. Tyree Wilson, I think, is gone. Miles Murphy is a guy that I, personally have said he's the top 10 player in this draft, but most people are saying he's going to be available at that spot. So, you take Sweat out, you put Murphy in. But hey, I mean, if they're trading away Sweat to get up to the top of the draft, they're not going to be picking the edge rusher in that spot anyway.
That is true. Well, that could be very interesting.
Yeah.
Washington moving up, especially if after getting Eric Bieniemy, hey, if you had your druthers, who would you want? If we had the opportunity to get one of these quarterbacks, and then he tells you, and then you maybe go get him. So
Yep. Absolutely.
could happen.